Yo, 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 I'm Candy B. I be knitting, and this week I be showing you a couple of finished objects, a couple of things that have been frustrating me, and whatever else we might have time for. We'll see how far we get. So, first thing, I am wearing a finished object. Last time y'all saw this, it was a kind of finished object. This hat is just something I improvised. Bulky weight hat. I cast on 64 stitches. This is Cascade's bulky wool yarn. I have a stitch a day calendar that I got this motif from. Plugged that in, did some decreases. Hat was done. Then I wanted to add a pom-pom. This yarn is Stitch and Story yarn, which I believe this company is now no longer in business, and it was some yarn I dyed with Kool-Aid, and I just made a little pom-pom. I have some just regular size pom-pom makers, but I wanted like extra bulky pom-pom, so I fashioned one out of cardboard using a DVD and just made a circle around the DVD and cut that and used that as a pom-pom maker. Google has great instructions. And then I steamed it just so the yarn would bloom a little bit and make a nice little full pom-pom for myself. And I say for myself, I'm not keeping this hat. And then the pom-pom is tied on the hat. And this will probably go in like my little gift pile for, next time I want a hat to give away, maybe as a teacher gift, maybe as a donation. Maybe one of my kids will want to wear it. But that is that. After I made the pom-pom, I trimmed it up as best I could, and I put all the little scraps in here. Being that this is a single ply bulky yarn, I'm thinking I can use this in my drum carder for a mix-in if I'm making wool bats. So that's the plan with those leftovers. And yeah, this has been washed and blocked, so it's going to go in my little cubby where I keep all my donations. But I just wanted to show y'all that before it went away, probably until maybe November, December, when it actually gets chilly here. My second finished object is my apron. This is the apple pie apron, pie maker apron. Pie maker apron by Jennifer Lysen. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. And I keep calling it the apple pie apron because her pattern is free, and she also has a little recipe for apple pie that comes with the pattern, which I thought was pretty cute. And so this is that. I kind of riffed on the pattern. Her pattern has solid yarns she uses to stripe. So this main part of the apron has large color block stripes, and then she has a third color, solid contrast color in the belt. And I've used variegated yarn for the whole body. One variegated yarn, it's the lavender colorway of some cotton, just like the Lily Sugar and Cream cotton. And then I used, I think this is Peaches and Cream, one of those big cones that comes from Walmart, and I used that whole thing as the contrasting belt. And that's kind of just a little riff on, if you've ever seen the movie Elf. This is an ode to two of the Elf food groups. We have candy, and then we have candy corn. And so I thought that was kind of cute. And then I had a couple of scrap balls of Lily Sugar and Cream, and she just has these little pockets on there. So I used variegated yarn. She used solid yarn. Mine is much narrower than the pattern calls for, because she had knit 2 togethers to create the ruffle, and I did knit 3 togethers to do a more dramatic ruffle at the bottom. So mine's a little bit more narrow, but this is mostly just like I said, just something to wipe my hands on in the kitchen when they're wet, and I just don't want to keep using paper towels or reaching for a towel. And it's been quite useful so far. I have not blocked it. I just kind of threw it right on, and the first time I wash it, then I'll block it, and I'll just throw it in the washing machine. The other thing you see here are the pockets. Because mine is narrower, she had a much wider apron in the pattern, and she had the pockets set to one side. What I did was I had my pockets like just straight down the middle. I thought that looked better than doing it to one side on such a narrow front piece. And at first I just did it because I thought it was just something cute to add to the pattern. I was like, oh, these pockets aren't going to be very functional. It's not like I put my hands in my pockets or there's anything I need to do with this. This smaller pocket is not very functional, but this bigger pocket, I own a Samsung Galaxy. I am an Android. And this pocket is actually the exact size of my phone. So I can carry around my phone 9 times out of 10 when I'm doing dishes. I'm listening to music or watching a YouTube video. And so it's nice to be able to carry my phone around and have my phone stay clean and dry. Because like a lot of times I'll just have it sitting on the counter and water is getting splashed on it, flour, pancake mix. And then these buttons, I don't have like a huge collection of buttons. I'm not a sewist or anything like that. All my buttons are just things that are left over from, you buy a button down shirt and an extra button comes in it. Or these 2 buttons, I had a skirt that was actually too big for me, and I ended up donating. And it had 2 buttons on the front, and they weren't functional buttons at all. So one of the buttons ended up coming off of it, and I was like, well, the button isn't functional, it's just for looks. And so rather than sew the button back on, I took both of the buttons off and ended up keeping the buttons, and they were the perfect size for this. And so yeah, I ended up using those as buttons. And so I'm glad that my keeping random things kind of paid off in this respect. But so far so good. The pattern is super straightforward, super simple, free. I did basically everything else to pattern. I did the belt to pattern as well. I guess my belt is also shorter because my front is narrower. The whole belt would have been this front piece plus the cast on. But this works quite well for me. I like to pull it around the front and then bring them back to the front so I can tie it around my waist twice and still have slack left over. And it's not too heavy. It's not falling off of me. So I'm pretty excited about that. So that's done. And that will go back to my kitchen until I wash it. Maybe I'll show it again after I block it. Maybe we'll see. Because I kind of want to block it so it's a tiny bit wider. I don't need it to be super wide, but I think just proportionately it would look better if it was stretched more horizontally. So those are my finished objects. Let's get into a couple of things I've been working on and where my mind's been at. Couple of frustrating things first. First thing, we'll see what's in this bag. This is my Imagine It project bag. It's a store in San Francisco. And this is not currently frustrating. I'm actually quite happy with it now. This is my Sockhead slouch hat by Kelly McClure, aka Boho Knits. Another free pattern. And you are not living in the Berenstain universe. The last time you saw this hat, it was a different yarn. So right now I am knitting this with, well, actually, let me show you the old yarn first. So I started off knitting this hat with this yarn. This is Knitted Wit in the Wood Violet colorway. And this is their sock base. And if y'all remember, I was very excited because my daughter picked out this yarn. It's got pinks and purples and blues, which is like my favorite color pattern or color palette. But I was knitting this hat, and this is just a slouchy ribbed hat, goes into like a long beanie style. And I cast on the hat, and I just realized it was supposed to be like kind of like in my purse, traveling around town, waiting to pick my kids up project. And I just realized I really wasn't reaching for it. Like, this is going to sound bad, but I was like, oh, I'll just bring my book and read my book. Because I was just like something. And usually when I don't want to work on a knit project, it means something's wrong with the project. I need to pivot in some kind of way. And the issue with this hat was a couple of things. One, and you can maybe tell that it's caked up, and I should be, that's probably something I should work on, is recognizing how a yarn is going to knit up, looking at it in a skein. But I was hoping that it would be a lot more of the light pinks and like a little bit of purple and then a little less of the blue. But the dominating color was this navy blue. And I'm not a fashionista by any stretch of the imagination, but in my mind, I don't like to wear like heavy dark colors on top. Usually I wear darker colors at the bottom, and I like brighter colors around my face. And so I was just like, it just feels like heavy. That's the best way I can describe it. And so I wasn't feeling that. And then the other thing about this yarn that you might not be able to tell by looking at it in the cake is that this is self-striping. And I was just like, I really don't want a striped beanie. Like, I just had a certain idea of how I just want kind of like dappled, speckled color. Like, I don't mind flashing and pooling and hand-dyed yarn. It was just like, I just wanted just a different vibe. To me, striped isn't as versatile, and I feel like would, like I said, take away from my face. I just didn't want too much happening near my face. And I found myself really wanting like a little taste of like sparkle in here somewhere, just to like brighten it up. And I was just like, do I have anything sparkly? I was like, I don't think I have anything sparkly. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to rip this out. I think this would be really great down here, especially the striping, maybe in a yoke for myself. Obviously stripes are fabulous for socks, but I don't know if I would want to take, a yarn this nice and make socks out of it. Maybe I'll make my kids socks since she bought the yarn, but I just wasn't feeling it as a hat. So I pulled that out and I was like, well, what am I going to do now? Being that it was Mother's Day and I had one kid's yarn, I pulled out a different kid's yarn. And this is the skein of yarn my other daughter got me. And I was just like, this will be more of that kind of more random color I was looking for. No, I do not believe that this is self-striping. I actually did the thing I should have done in the first place. I went on Ravelry and looked up this yarn, and you can see people's projects and tell how the yarn's going to knit up. And this is silky sock yarn from Well Dressed Sheep, Great Adirondack Yarn Co. And this is the color Toucan. And I also like this yarn because it's 70% superwash merino, 20% silk, and 10% nylon. And so I thought that little bit of silk content would be really nice for a hat. But as you can probably tell, same issue as before. I didn't want dark colors up around my face. Then I was thinking to myself, what do I have? Let me think. I pulled this out, which is a ranunculus, which you've probably seen before if you've been here before. And this is some Bumblebee Acres Farm sock yarn. And this is the calcifer base from Howl's Moving Castle. And I was just like, I don't wear this sweater that much. I could frog this and make a hat out of it. And I think it would be a fabulous hat. And so I pulled it out. I was like, I don't wear it this much. I want to wear it more. I'd probably wear it more as a hat. And I pulled it out and I looked at it and I was like, actually, I really love this sweater and it's fabulous looking. I'm not going to frog this. I need to find a way to wear this more. And so that's on my list. So I'm just like, okay, now I don't have anything to knit this hat out of. So this is the Sockhead hat by Kelly McClure. And I've told y'all that I already have made the cowl for myself. The cowl was one of the first things that I knit for myself. And this is it. I just wanted to show this to y'all. And this is Hedgehog Fiber Co. in the colorway Teacup. And this was like literally the first high-end yarn that I was just like, oh my goodness, Hedgehog Fiber Co. I need that. And I bought some of it. I bought a skein of it from my local yard shop. and looked up a pattern that used one skein of yarn, and this is what I settled on. And I used pretty much the entire skein of yarn and made this for myself. And so I was just like, actually, it would also be nice if I could find something that matches this vibe. And you can see it's lighter colors, it has speckling, it's got pops of pink in it. And I was just like, this is what I want. And so I looked through my stash, and I came to this. And if y'all recall, I actually won this in a giveaway. This is the Hope Made Yarn Co. JoJo's favorite sock base, 75% fine superwash merino, 25% nylon. And this is her Rhinebeck of Many Colors colorway 2024. And I won it as a sock set. So it came with this undyed skein of yarn. And I've made this hat many times for other people, and I know it does not take 100-gram skein of yarn. And at the same time, I was just like, this yarn's too nice to make socks out of. And so I was like, this is actually perfect because it's like 70 grams of yarn in this main color skein. If for some reason I do run out, I have this undyed yarn that I can pop in there. But for the most part, I should be able to make this hat with no leftovers. I can just, keep knitting and then at the end weigh it. And if you can see, it is my kind of rainbow. It has, some sort of take on, the Roy G. Biv, but it's got teal in there. It's got, yellowy orange. It's got magenta in there, but also a good amount of white so that we get the kind of coloring I like up here. And this is now that I've found the answer to my problems, this is actually going quite well. It starts off with a 2x2 rib and you knit that for like 4 inches. So this is not like a big rush project. It's just I pull it out whenever I have time. And so far, so good. So that's that. Now, my second headache that I dealt with this past week, or am dealing with currently, I've been knitting, oh my goodness. Everything is like leaping off the table once I put it on the table. I've been knitting socks for my husband while we watch The Wire together. And he wanted black and white striped socks. Nice long leg. Don't mind doing it because I'm just doing it while I'm watching The Wire, so it's not like I'm like in a rush. Just as we watch episodes, I knit on this. So recently, made it to the heel, and I'll put the pattern below that I'm using, but I'm not really using the mostly I'm using it for the stitch count because this is 68 stitches because this is Hobie's Black Friday sock yarn, and I was just getting a really weird gauge with it compared to other sock yarns I use, so I did 68 stitches. I usually do 72 stitches for his socks, all the way up to, I've done 80 stitch socks for him, but I think 72 is like the sweet spot. But if y'all remember, this is my second time starting these socks, and the first time I did 72 stitches, it was too big, so I've gone down to 68 stitches. Legs cuffs good, legs good. But the other night I got to the what do you call that? To the heel flapping gusset. It's got an Eye of Partridge heel, which I do not recommend doing in black yarn. Managed to do the pickup in black yarn. Started doing the decreases for the gusset, and I'm doing the decreases for the gusset. And I'm just like, okay, I think I'm getting. If you've never knit a sock before, you have a lot of stitches to make room for the heel, and then you start to decrease back to your original stitch count. So I was like, okay, let me check if I have 68 stitches yet. And something went wrong. My stitch count was off. Long story short. So what I believe happened is because I'm doing 68 stitches, 68 divided by 4 is 17, right? So each of my needles should have had 17 stitches on it. But when I was working ribbing, I had an even amount of stitches on each needle because I went knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and with a purl go to the next needle, knit, purl. So these are all double point needles, right? And so I don't think I readjusted after my ribbing so that I would have an even amount of stitches on each needle again. And so very long story short, wrong stitch count. Is being 1 or 2 stitches off the worst thing in the world? Because right now, as it stands now, I have 2 extra stitches on the back of the sock, if we're saying the heel is the back, and 2 less stitches on the front of the heel. And so it's like, is that a big deal? Is it gonna bother me? Maybe, maybe not. Is it a big deal if I just rip back? Because I could just rip the heel out and do the heel again. And so it's not a big mistake, but it's also an easy fix. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is just start on the second sock. Just leave this to the side. Start on the second sock, because now I think I know what I did wrong. Hopefully that's what I did wrong. If that's not what I did wrong, I don't know what I did wrong. And so I'm thinking I'm going to try this on him, see if this actually fits and looks good where we're at, because now I have the opportunity to pivot. And yeah, I have a lot of, these are size 0 DPNs, by the way. That's my preferred sock needle. And so, yeah, I think what I'm going to do is just start the second sock and just let this one sit for a minute. And, you know, I'm leaning towards ripping out the heel because things like that do bother me. Do I think it's going to make a big difference in the long run? No, I do not. Because eventually it just kind of goes on your foot and your foot kind of just figures it out. But it's just very frustrating. And I am a knitter. That's my hobby. And so, you know, more time knitting isn't really that big a deal. It is annoying that the heel is in black yarn, and that was probably my least favorite part of the sock. We have one more season of the wire left, so these socks are definitely not going to be finished by the time we finish the wire. The bear's coming back this summer, so these might turn into bear socks, but not happy with that. Not happy with that at all, because it was just like, oh, this should be super easy TV knitting, and it just, yeah, I know I'm overreacting, but it just, so yeah. And also I already, these were like 100-gram balls, and so I've already cut them in half for each sock, so I can literally just put this in a bag and put it away somewhere. Last but certainly not least, I wanted to show y'all, actually, before we pivot away from that, because I have these socks out, I've been wanting to show y'all for a while. I have this little stitch marker on it. I put this as my beginning of round stitch marker because I was doing my heel thing, but I should have just moved my progress keeper down. This is a progress keeper. It's a little llama. It says begin round, and it actually came from, this was a Christmas gift, so I haven't shown y'all this in a while. I've been meaning to show it because it's always on my socks, and I'm like, oh, I'll show it to you next time. This was my Mother's Day gift. My kid made a little clay thing, and I was like, oh, that's perfect for notions. These are Fiber Circle. It's called the Fiber Circle, a Texas yarn company, and this is their sock set. What do you call it? Progress keeper stitch marker set. And so it came with this big old safety pin, and it's got all of these little markers on it. And the thing I like about this is that it is made for DPN sock knitting. And so there's little llamas on each of the ones, and they have needle 1, needle 2, needle 3, needle 4, and then there is a beginning of stitch marker, and there is a progress keeper. And so when you're knitting, you can just mark your mistake and then go back and find it. And then this one's just a plain little llama. And so I thought that was pretty cute. So I just thought I'd show y'all that. I don't try to show huge holes when things are bought, but I like to show them as I'm using them. Last but not least, for the most part, this is the main project I'm working on. This is my Silver Bells by TinCanKnits. And this is a top-down yoke sweater, circular yoke sweater. It's got fingering weight yarn held double with mohair. It's got bobbles on it. And I am nearly done with the charts. There's like these lace charts with bobbles. And I'm actually just starting the last row that has bobbles in it. And so hopefully that's going to be like smooth sailing down from there. And as I told y'all before, I am not going to continue the pattern as you separate and continue the pattern into the sleeves and the body. But once I'm done with the yoke, I'm just going to split for sleeves and do it like a vanilla sweater. The thing with this, and the reason I'm in kind of like a go mode with this project, is because this is the sweater. It does not have short rows written into the pattern. And so what I want to do is finish the yoke and steam it and try it on and see if I agree that it does not need short rows. If I don't agree, I'm going to add my own short rows. And so I'm really kind of anxious to get into that part of the process. So far, so good. Bobbles are not my favorite. I would not actively seek them out, but they're also not the worst in the world, but it is more knitting. And so it has been slow going. And I get to a certain point with my projects where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this to be done now. I'm ready to move on to something else. And I told myself I wouldn't cast anything else on until I was done with this yoke, so that I could kind of stay on task and stay focused with it. They do have an option to not do bobbles, but I was just like, I want to give it the good college try. And now I know how to do bobbles, and I've memorized it by the end of this pattern. On the last row, I finally have it memorized. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, once this is done, yeah, the yoke part is done. It should be like smooth after that. And I'm not even hating working. I've been very much like a skeptic as far as like all the mohair held with yarn. I'm not going to like actively seek it out. I have no interest in like buying double the yarn for every project and the amount of money it costs. But it's not that bad. Like a lot of people talk about like the mohair being sticky and hot, or not being able to catch both parts of the yarn. But I have not had, knock on wood, it has not given me a lot of issues. I would do this again if the right mohair and the right project came along. I don't think it's necessary for every single sweater. And as I've told y'all before, I live in Virginia. And so it's not like I need a lot of super warm sweaters a lot of time of the year. I think having maybe one or two, one with like a lace yoke, is going to keep me plenty warm. It's not something I would do for like every single sweater, or have, half a dozen sweaters with mohair, especially like mohair with like a worsted weight or something like that. I do have another, we won't even go there, but I do have more mohair. I do have more mohair projects planned, but yeah, overall the process of knit, and it may be also because this is mohair acrylic, so maybe like a soft silk mohair might be different. I don't know, but it hasn't been, and maybe it's also because when people kind of put the scare tactics into you of how annoying the process is, it's all about expectation. So like my expectation was like, oh, this is going to be hell on earth. And I was like, not bad. Yeah, bobbles are kind of annoying, but it wasn't that bad, A little tip, just keep your perspective, and things are always better than they seem. So that's the last project I'm working on. Hopefully within the next time I see y'all, hopefully I will have made decisions about that yoke, and will have maybe cast on a new project. Something I'm thinking about, last time we were together, I showed y'all my hand spun I was working on. And I was just like, well, I do, one of my goals was to knit with my hand spun. I really should be looking at projects. How am I going to use this? And so I went through my hand spun. I pulled this out. And this is some Kim's let me just read it from the thing so I don't butcher this woman's name, because I do respect her a lot. Kim Dyes Yarn. I was trying to make Kim possessive, but it's Kim Dyes Yarn. And she's local to me, out of the Richmond, Virginia area. And this is some yarn. I think I got this at the maybe Frederick Fiber Fest. And this is all different colorways from her that I spun together. So I don't really remember which is which, because I'm also terrible at taking notes on my hand spun. They're all 8515 BFL Tussa silk. They were all like hand-dyed braids. And the colors, I think this is Golden Light. I believe this is, I know for a fact this is Cock-a-Doodle-Doo. And then I believe this one, this lightest one, is Mushroom Hunt, I believe. I could also go to her website and probably figure it out too. But as you can tell, all of her colors go very well together. And so I'm thinking of using these in one project. I want to do a striped sweater vest or a sleeveless sweater. And I think that's going to work well because some of this, because I really struggled in the beginning doing silk blends. And so there are places where this is underplied. And so I'm figuring if I do stripes, I can just cut away when I get to certain points where the yarn is not what I want it to be. And all of these colors go very nicely together because they were all dyed by the same person. So I think that would be lovely. Speaking of all the colors go very nicely together, I also have these from Kim Dyes Yarn. These are her Golden Light. Oh, it's literally the same color. Golden Light on Crumble Slubby. So this is a slubby yarn, boucle style yarn, however you want to call it. And it's super, ooh, I don't think I would do that. This is superwash merino. I don't think I want to mix superwash and silk. But I was thinking to myself, oh, that might be fun, because they are from the same dyer and all of her colors go so well together. But I was thinking I would do like a little tank top out of this anyway, because I saw the most gorgeous tank top. What is her name? Black Pearl Magic. She's like Unicorn City Knits is the podcast she's on. And she's got a sleeveless mock turtleneck top out of boucle yarn. And I was like, I need to do that. So I think I'm going to stick to that original plan since this is superwash. So let's pop it over there. But I think I want to kind of reskein these and count yardage, and then do a swatch. I'm also planning on swatching for one of those color work sweaters I talked about last time, but that's going to come after I finish the yoke on that sweater. That is all I had for y'all. I'm going to ask y'all something random. What are you watching on TV right now? I'm watching The Wire with my husband. I also just finished, I started watching, I started watching Barry on HBO. I try to like rotate between streaming services because I don't want to pay money for all these streaming services. And so now we're like, oh, we got HBO back. Let's see what's on the HBO. And so I've been watching The Wire with my husband, or I believe either on the last season or the second to last season. And then I started watching Barry, and I'm on the last season of that. It's a good show. I like The Wire a lot, and I'm very much enjoying watching it with my husband. It's definitely a nostalgia trip. We never watched it when it was originally on television. It came out when I was like in high school, so it really wasn't on my radar in that respect. Barry is okay. I don't care for the character Barry on the show, but the show, I can't deny that there is some good acting and some good storytelling there. I am very much ready for it to be over. And then I recently started Hacks, and once again, good show, but very much unlikable characters, which I'm guessing is like a theme with HBO. I have to agree. I'm like, oh, did I have one show where I'm like, oh, these people are relatable and fun? And I would, maybe when I originally watched Sex and the City the first time, but then I go back and rewatch it and I'm like, oh God, what a trip. Yeah. Well, actually, Carrie was annoying the first time, let's be honest with ourselves. But let me know, what are you watching? What streaming services do you have and what you're looking at? Once again, I'm Candy B. I be knitting. I be in the garden. I be Rulude at Rulude on Instagram. Candy be knitting on Gmail. Blue Sky. All those places. If you like this video, like this video. If you hated this video, like this video. If you have a comment on this video. If you don't have anything to say, comment on this video. I don't have anything to say. Until next time, peace.